The reason for this video actually follows a conversation I had with a client recently who was looking at the non-habitual residence scheme. And whilst he could find a lot of information on the rules that apply on the Portugal side of things, he couldn't actually find any information about the rules for the country you're actually leaving, in his case the UK. And that is the biggest trap for people looking to apply for the non-habitual residence scheme. So one of the most common questions I'm asked is the non-habitual residence scheme too good to be true? What's the catch? Now really there isn't any catch as such, or not what you'd think it would be anyway. There's two key things that you need to be aware of here. The first is the deadline for applying for an HR, because that's set in stone. If you miss that, you can't apply for an HR full stop. And that's the 31st of March following the year that you get residency in Portugal. Beyond that, the crucial point, and this is the real catch if there is any to the scheme, and it's not any rule applying here in Portugal, it's following the rules in the country that you're actually leaving. And the crucial issue here is capping your time in other countries. So whereas in Portugal you have a 6-month rule, so in order to maintain your residency here you need to be here more than 6 months of the year, very black and white. The country you're coming from, however, may have much more different rules. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Quinn. I'm a chartered financial planner and tax advisor. I've been helping expats relocate to Portugal for the last 10 years now. And to be kept up to date on local developments and international developments affecting expats here, please subscribe to the channel and also make sure you click the notification icon so you're kept up to date of the latest videos. So as I say, the key is capping your time spent in other countries. Now the UK is a particularly tricky country to deal with this because it has what's called the statutory residence test, which was introduced in 2013, and it gives you a kind of roadmap and series of tests to go through to determine how long you're able to spend back in the UK without becoming tax resident there again. Now that can be as few as 16 days and it can be as much as 182 days. So it's important you work through that test carefully to establish how many days that you have for your specific situation, because it varies according to each individual and family's situation and what's called ties to the UK. Basically the way it works is the more ties and connections you have back to the UK, the less time you're able to spend back there. Other countries work on a different basis. So for example, Ireland has the concept of ordinarily resident, whereby even if you leave Ireland, you can still be considered a tax resident there for a further 3 years. Other countries operate on what's called a centre of economic interest. So again, even if you've left that country and you're living in Portugal, you could still be brought back into that country's tax net by virtue of the fact that you've got economic interest in that country. Portugal really is the simpler part of the equation. As I say, the more complex and the more grey area is the country you're leaving. Just a couple of other points from a UK context. The UK has what's called a 5-year anti-avoidance rule, which is aiming at people leaving the country, selling assets potentially tax-free in another country and returning there within a short period of time, which they deem to be 5 tax years or less. So what's important is that you make sure that you understand what transactions are going to be subject to the 5-year anti-avoidance rule, and also stay clear of the UK tax system for that period. Otherwise you end up paying the tax that you would have paid had you continued to be a UK tax resident. The other issue for UK nationals again is the concept of domicile. Very specific meaning, generally related to inheritance tax. So even if you leave the UK and successfully establish tax residency here in Portugal and cap your time in the UK, the default position is you're always going to be subject to UK inheritance tax, because IHT in the UK is determined by what's called your domicile, which is where you originate from. It's not actually determined by where you live. It's a complex area. I'm going to do more videos on that specific topic in future. As always, I always say to people, take advice before you do anything, before you do any planning or any transactions. Make sure you take individual advice, because everybody's situation is very different, and it could be a costly mistake if you don't get things right or do things in the right order. I hope you found this video useful. Please like the video if you did, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.